back again after a slight delay. I reckon this is the earliest podcast we have ever recorded in the world. It's 8:34 a.m. and Ben, obviously, because he's an adult and adults just don't sleep. Ben's here, wide awake.
To be fair, you tried to move it to 8, which I was happy to do. I was just like, don't like make me wake up for 8 and then suddenly change your mind to half 8.
No. Were you actually happy to do that?
Yeah, but what time do you think I wake up? Like, Sally's still working.
I don't know. What time do you wake up?
Like 7?
Oh, well, wow, fair. I woke up at 7:30 today and I was like, oh, fuck. Annoying. Because, 8 o'clock would have just meant I could get to work at 9, but then again, I was just like, oh, it's okay. I'll just get to work at 10.
It's good being the boss, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I'm not strictly the boss, but I mean, I'm not going to get in trouble, put it that way.
I'm not strictly the boss, but unlucky dad.
Yeah, exactly. It's on you. But no. Oh, wow, it's 7 o'clock. I can't wait for that one. Did you used to sleep a lot then?
I've never been one of these people that sleeps till like 10, 11 in the morning.
Well, so not like loads of people then?
Yeah, like even when I was like a teenager and stuff, I was just never a 11 o'clock guy.
To be fair, when you were a teenager, people didn't have phones and stuff. They were still like playing in the park, so...
Incorrect. Mobile phones came around. I got my first phone when I was about... Well, hang on. When I say I got my first phone, I got the first phone when I was about 13.
Really?
Yeah. I'll send you a picture of it. It was a beautiful Motorola. It had like 4 ringtones on it.
Could you play Snake? Could you play Snake?
No, it was before. So it was pre-Snake. You could get like 4 ringtones, and it was called British tone, French tone, Italian tone, or German tone.
And it could text and call?
It could do both of those things, yeah. But that was pretty much it.
How much did it cost? Did it cost like £1 a message?
It was all pay as you go. What was it? I don't know. I don't know, to be honest. I don't know.
That's still quite cool.
But back in the day when a phone literally, you're like, could you only text and call on it? So that's what a phone is, isn't it?
100%. That's what a phone is. Yeah.
They're not phones now. They're just gadgets.
Yeah, we live in a privileged society.
You're basically walking around with computers that can make phone calls.
100% an iPhone's a computer, really.
Yeah, so you can make a phone call on it.
Exactly. You can't learn real tennis. Actually, well, you can. You can watch real tennis. So yeah.
You can, mate, because you can access YouTube and listen to a view from the Hazards on it.
Good, subtle plug from within the podcast. However, you're probably saying that to the wrong audience, because if they're listening to this, they're already hooked.
True story.
And why wouldn't you be? Well, this is actually, I was saying to Ben before we started, this is the first podcast we're recording over Facebook calls since the 11th of September. So that's exactly 2 months ago. No, it's not. That's nearly 2 months ago.
Almost.
Almost. It says 11/9 because my day's the wrong way around. How weird is that?
So that means that for 2 months things were looking up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I was in Leamington every weekend. That was fun. But you can't do that strictly, unless you break the rules. But then again, oh well.
Not much to do. Not much to do when you get down here. To be fair.
The quality of your voice is good, so that's fine. That's fine.
Wonderful.
What have you done this week then? Because you've not been working since Wednesday.
No, been a big week for me. So basically, I have a rule that like 5 days a week I'll just exercise.
I thought you were going to say something stupid that 5 days a week I'm having beers.
No, that's probably undercooking it, if anything, at the moment. So just doing the same as lockdown 1, really. Lots of exercise, lots of stretching, but I have decided to embark on a massive project to get Leamington Football Club from the Vanarama North into the Premier League.
Are you still on handheld or are you on computer?
On the iPad, so in between.
Oh yeah, got you.
So back-to-back promotions in the first 2 seasons. I'm currently in League 2.
So for context, Ben really likes Football Manager handheld. So in Australia, before the podcast even started, he was playing as Club Bruges, I think, in Belgium.
But you've got so many hours to kill out there.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, I know. I used to play it, but it was just not healthy. I used to play it too much.
Yeah, I can imagine you getting quite.
That's the thing.
Into that.
That's the thing with me in games. I can't just like dip into them. Like I have to play them like 10 hours a day. Like I downloaded Football Manager at 0102 and ended up like playing it 12 hours a day. Like I was in Spain playing it. Oh my god!
That's the best version. That's
I know
why
it was.
it's so easily done.
I mean, I was Coventry and I got through like 2 seasons in 2 days. I mean, it was bad. Like it got to the point where I was like shaking when I couldn't play. Like I was annoyed. I had to eat dinner. Anyway,
Why have I got to go to work?
I know. Yeah, it's like, oh god, I just want to be Coventry, and I was like late for work because I was playing Football Manager. Anyway,
Obviously, I wouldn't be a fan of that as Leamington manager. Local rival. That'd be a bitter derby.
mate, Coventry's so much better. 102 as well, handy.
Well, I'm also a Villa fan as well, and Coventry and Villa are like long-standing rivals. So, hang on, hang on. On the subject of Villa, nice little plug there. 3-0 last night.
I watched the game. Since it's lockdown, I've started watching a bit of football. So I mean, I've watched a few games this weekend. Probably more I've watched the entire season. And Villa were absolutely sick yesterday.
Mate, if we win our game in hand, we're top of the league.
I mean, stop thinking like that. But yeah,
Mate, I was chatting to somebody last night, and they were like, "Oh, so what's your ambition?" I was like, "I'm always just looking at 18th place and seeing how many points ahead of them we are. That's literally all I'm doing week to week."
Yeah, that is true. Though. To be fair, they do look good. But they were all over Arsenal, all over them.
Arsenal are so hot and cold, though, aren't they?
I think everyone's hot and cold though. Everyone.
So here we go. Villa at 7 games, 15 points. We're almost halfway to survival. After 7 games.
Yes.
Well, that's what you've got to look at, isn't it? As a genuine, as a team that's trying to find their feet in the Premier League and get some stabilisation, you're not really thinking about Europe. I'm literally thinking get to 40 points.
Villa will stay up this season.
Yeah, I think we will, but I mean, I definitely think we will now. But
yeah, exactly.
I'm not thinking like I think it might have been. I think it was you or Chris the other day. Were like, "What do you reckon, Villa for top 4 this year?" I was like, "No." And then what about Europe? I was like, "No."
Considering they've taken 6 points off Arsenal and Liverpool, I'd say that's a pretty good start.
Excuse me, we've taken 9 points off Liverpool, Arsenal, and Leicester.
Leicester are a good team now. Fair.
Well, they're top of the league.
Yeah. Okay. Apparently.
Well, no, they are top of the league. I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah, that is impressive for Leicester.
They won it a few years ago. Christ.
Apparently so. Yeah, I wasn't playing at Leamington then. Doesn't count.
True.
Right. Well, that was a good.
Anyway, what did you get up to anyway? Sorry.
Oh no, it's all right. What did I do? Just been working. Oh god, this weekend I literally did nothing apart from like home workouts. Like I went to the park and did like dips and pull-ups, and like didn't leave the house really. Like I just didn't do much.
Yeah, I went for like a big dog walk on both days, but otherwise just did absolutely baffle. The weekends hurt me actually.
Yeah, I know.
The week when you got something going on, a bit like like Sally being at work, there's just like a structure. I know what the day is. Weekends are just like they're tedious.
Do you get your tax year overview?
Yes, I did. Thanks.
Oh, good. For both years, do you need it?
Well, no, it's just one of those things, isn't it? It's for a mortgage application, so you want to look like you've earned as much money as possible, but then you at the same time you're like, oh.
Well, why didn't you ask us to increase your earnings then?
Because you can't.
I thought you won the.
Are you telling me you're going to fudge my accounts like publicly online?
I thought you won the Italian Open.
Yeah, so for the mortgage, I want it to look like I've got earned as much money as possible, but obviously for tax, I don't want to have earned as much money as possible. So
that's fair. Yeah, for context, I did Ben's accounts on Friday, or was it Thursday? It was Thursday, so that's a big part of my day.
So I mean, this will probably be one of the last podcasts before I get locked up in a cell for tax fraud.
You won't get locked up in a cell, mate. They'll just cripple you.
Come and break my leg.
Yeah, exactly. The fine will cripple you.
Right, yeah.
That's what I meant. But anyway, an enterprising chat to start a recorded podcast. It's one of them. Normally there'll be a bit of chat in person before we do it, so we don't need to talk about as much weird stuff. But not to be today. Right. Well, we do have a topic.
I'm surprised, by the way, you haven't used this platform with our plethora of followers and listeners to use that opportunity to promote Shank's accounting for all real tennis pros.
I think, well, yeah, we are a specialist firm that actually knows real tennis inside out. Like I was doing Ben's accounts, and generally I was like, well, I know that's real tennis, like expenses. Like I just knew more than the average accountant would. He'd be on the phone like, what's Yeah, like what's this for? And I'd be like, I know that's equipment. Like hat store, yeah,
There you
100.
go.
You bought some caps for Australia equipment.
Exactly, a gift.
No, it's equipment, Ben.
Okay, it's equipment.
Yeah, it's not
Whatever you
gift.
say. Anyway, let's stop digging ourselves a big hole.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that was an enterprising chat, as I said. But we do have a topic for today, and it's an exciting podcast because it's the last one of the courts.
Well, I'm sceptical because I just know that we've forgotten something. I don't get weeks or
Mate,
weeks how we've
we haven't,
absolutely smashed it.
we haven't. What is it? We haven't forgotten a court. I'm telling you now.
Well, I hope not. I hope not. I hope not. I
What
mean,
court is it going to be? Like what?
we almost forgot Radley, but you
What's
remembered.
that? That elite court? Like Fair Lawn. Oh yeah, we've not done Fair Lawn.
Yeah, true.
But then
I
again,
was
no,
actually quite interested with the response to the poll the other day about.
favorite court.
Yeah, I mean, the funny thing is, you can tell. Obviously, like I wasn't attaching the names to
Yeah, I know.
who's responded, but you can tell exactly where they all play. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like, oh, you said Hampton Court. Oh, you play at Hampton Court.
My court's the best.
Yeah,
Got some news for you. No, it's not.
yeah, no, that's boring. That's boring. What you got to do there is have more than one court. Then you can't really say, oh no, I'm definitely from here.
Well, I mean, I guess it's probably a bit different as like a club member compared to like a pro. But like Leamington's not my favourite court in the world.
No, and I don't even. We'll find out at the end of this podcast what is. Anyway,
I obviously play very well on it, and I like it because I play here all the time and I know it like the back of my hand. But in terms of like the playability of where it plays, it's not my favourite.
wow. Well, we'll find out later in the podcast what your favourite British court is.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
You're gonna have to make a decision. However,
Fine.
yeah, fine, all right. However, we have a topic for today, which is great. We were saying like, oh, we've done too many podcasts which just aren't very inclusive, and we've got like this big listener base, and we're just not inclusive. And we're all about inclusivity, diversification. You know, if I had to like describe this podcast in one word, it'd be diversification. So, I'm joking. We're going to talk about we're going to do some technical stuff today. We're going to talk about the timbre.
Everybody's favourite.
Ben, what's the timbre?
The timbre is a buttress at the house end that sticks out at roughly 45 degrees, which changes from court to court.
What's the has? No, don't say that. No. Yeah, that is right. That is essentially it. You can't miss it.
I definitely can't miss it.
Yeah, middle of it.
In the middle of it every time.
I know, it helps me. Yeah, that is indeed correct. You couldn't have put it more accurately. And it does vary from court to court, the angle.
And the location of it as well. I can think of two courts where it's like further up or further back than usual in inverted commas.
Well, yeah, I'd say that Oxford is a weird timbre. Tuxedo.
Well, Oxford, Tuxedo, and Hobart are the three that kind of strike you as the ones that kind of give you the I'm going to call it the thinnest angle.
Middlesex goes behind you as well.
Yeah, but all right. So when I say thinnest angle, I just mean if you were to stand in the forehand corner and hit a ball into the timbre at every court in the world, if it really came across you sharply out toward borderline hazard chase, I would call that a thick angle or a fat angle.
Oratory.
And anything that kind of like slides down, yeah, like the oratory is a fat timbre, and it is wide as well. It's genuine fatty.
Yeah.
And Oxford, Tuxedo, and Hobart, like you could hit the timbre from the forehand corner and it will hit the back wall before it goes to the side wall. That's how thin it is.
Yeah. But exactly. Right. Okay. Let's break this down. Right. The timbre obviously at lower levels is a good shot.
Well, let's just be realistic for everybody, regardless of like standard or ability or anything like that. That the corner of the court which possesses the timbre is the toughest corner of the court.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's going to be for two reasons, or Yeah, it's going to be for one reason, but that reason is going to depend on what level you're at. So the higher the handicap, as in higher in number, as you said, the like the ball hitting the tambour is what's going to beat them. Like reading whether it's going to hit the tambour or and trying to get the ball back off the tambour is what's going to beat them. Would you agree? More often than not.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
And then as you get better and better, the presence of the timbre is what makes life difficult. Like you can get balls back off the timbre all day long, but the accuracy in which the people you're playing against are getting it in and around the timbre is what makes it tough for you.
Yeah.
At your level, it's not necessarily the ball hitting it every time. It's the presence of it and knowing that if your opponents are hitting like good length and stuff as well, the pressure is on you to really make the right decision because otherwise you're probably going to lose.
Probably.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, one way of avoiding that problem is to get down the service end. But yeah.
That is one way to take that corner out of the equation is to not be down there. You're absolutely right.
That's what my dad always says because like, obviously the timbre corner, like in front of that timbre at Manchester, is just like it's borderline dangerous.
Not anymore. Well, hang on, they're not doing the floor, are they?
They're doing the roof, bro.
Well, they've got scaffolding up on the floor. They might level out.
Yeah, but the floor's been covered, so.
Just get them to put a few bits of heavy blocks on that in front of the timbre, try and level it.
That floor is bad. But yeah, like when it hits, it just like goes up in the air. My dad's always like, "Well, yeah, just get down the service end then." And I was like, "Well, not a bad point." I guess if you're complaining about how unfair the timbre is, just get a chase.
Seems like the obvious thing to say and like a bit of a cop out thing to say, but it's completely true.
It is, yeah. And I was like, "Mate, come on." That's like what happens when you get older. You just get really diplomatic.
Yeah, I mean, it's not. Don't be down there. Then is a very. It's not as easy as that, but it's the right answer. If you don't like it,
yeah,
get out of there.
Like anything. Right. Okay. Let's. So yeah, we talked about that, but I'd say like.
So why is the timbre so difficult?
Why is it difficult? Because why is it difficult? Well, because you could misread it and then the ball will get behind you, and obviously when it's behind you, it's really hard.
Or you could misread it and it could get in front of you. It's exactly that. If you see a ball coming into the forehand corner, what you see is what you get. All of the information for you is there in front of you. You've got trajectory, speed, angle. It's all there in front of you. You might choose to completely ignore it. A lot of people do. But you have information there, and what you see is what you get. There's nothing to try and figure out.
Yeah.
There's no surprise factor. Whereas when the ball's going over towards that backhand side, you've got that like that element of yes, what I see is what I get, and I can plot where this thing's going to go, but it could also hit that thing and end up somewhere entirely different.
Yeah.
So that's why it's tough. It's just much more difficult once you get to a certain level. Like the timbre's not if you can read the ball perfectly every time, the timbre's not an issue, right? Obviously, no one can read it perfectly, but the timbre is not an issue if you can read the ball properly. What staggers me, and this is a general tip for like the average club player, is that when the ball hits the timbre, generally speaking, if it hits like flat timbre, the angle is going to be. It's not going to be exactly the same every time because it depends which side of the court you've hit it from. But I mean, generally speaking, at like club level, when people kind of position themselves in different spots relative to the timbre, I'm like, what are you doing? Like, if it hits the timbre, it's just going to come off at that angle. So just stand in the same place every time.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's a very basic way to teach somebody, but it's like the ball hits the timbre, it comes off at this angle, and just work with that. You know, when they read it to hit the timbre and still get beaten by it, and they're like, well, I thought it was going to come out a bit further in front. I'm like, why? The last one didn't, and the angle's the same.
Yeah.
So, once you've got the angle down, plonk yourself there.
I remember a conversation in 2015 with Chappers and Kieran Booth, which changed my mind to being like, the timbre's a bad shot.
Oh, go on then. Are we going to enlighten us?
Well, yeah, maybe I will. Basically, it was in the top gallery at Queen's, and you might even have been playing. I don't even know.
Well, I mean, if it's someone hitting the timbre with a great degree of regularity, could have been me.
Yeah, no, exactly, yeah. But so basically, they were saying like if you hit the timbre, it's actually really bad because what you can do from the Haslam once it's hit the timbre is you can change the direction of the ball like so quickly, like before the person can actually see where it's going. Whereas like on a normal board you can see where the racket's going, but like on the tambour, the racket just comes down the back of the ball, and it could go anywhere. Do you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, but like which is absolutely right, because the ball, if you're at the hazard end and I hit the ball straight down the middle to you,
Yeah.
I can kind of see, as they've pointed out, because the ball's coming straight at you, your racket, if you like, is a brick wall. Yeah, so the angle of your racket is going to dictate what angle the ball comes back to me at.
Yeah.
Happy with that? So it's much easier if I'm staring your racket straight in the face to see whether you've kind of which angle you've put your racket at. Are you going to go down to my forehand or my backhand? It's much easier for me to see that. If the ball's coming off the tambour, the ball is not coming, the way I look at it, straight at you. It's coming across you from 90 degrees. So the difference for you to kind of go to my forehand or my backhand, I can't see that. And like you say, the ability to change the direction, as those two said, which is absolutely summed it up perfectly. The ability for them to change the angle can happen in literally a split second.
Yeah, exactly.
So you just cannot pick what's going to happen.
I mean, obviously you can, but it's just harder because like the ball just comes over the net, and you're almost like sent the wrong way, because it's like, oh my god, how did that happen so fast?
Yeah, and then you throw like a left, a top left-hander into the mix, and they've got the ability, if they read it right, if they want to hammer it at you as well.
Yeah.
And you're like, right, not only have I got to try and figure out which corner this is coming at, I've also got to worry about the one that's coming straight at my face.
Yeah.
Right-handers, generally speaking, aren't going to take that on too much because it's a backhand.
Dave Woodman, he would.
Oh, just quite simple against Dave. Just don't let him at the hazard end. That ball's going in the dead on from all over the place. So just don't let him down there.
Yeah, exactly.
I've never played someone where him and Chisholm, where just getting a chase is just the worst thing in the world. It's like, no, I don't want this.
Yeah, but yeah, that applies.
The thing with something that I always try and put across to people in lessons when it comes to the tambour, right, is two things really. Is firstly, you've got the timbre there, right? So the sheer presence of it is going to confuse people, and it's going to make people make some wrong choices. That's just a fact. So what we all do is try and utilise that corner with power, because we kind of think, all right, well, that's going to make it even more difficult. If they've got to make a decision quickly and I throw power into the mix, it's going to make life very difficult, right?
Yeah.
But here's my thing. If you've got the gonads to do it, if you're playing somebody, right, if you're at the hazard end and that ball is going towards the timbre and you're not quite sure if it's going to hit or miss, if you commit to saying, I think it's going to hit the timbre,
yeah,
and it misses the timbre, if someone's hammered it, you've now got the back wall as a potential safety net for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you might be able to quickly lunge back, and because that ball's hitting the back wall and then coming out towards where you're stood, you might be able to still get the ball back. So you can make a guess, and if they've hit it too hard, potentially get that ball as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas, imagine what it's like if you get exactly that same ball, but the length is very good. You decide it's going to hit the timbre. The moment it misses, you've lost the point because the ball's not hitting the back wall and coming back to you.
Yeah.
So, actually, I try and encourage people to not just blast away into that corner because the back wall is, that corner is the toughest one on the court. The back wall is there as a potentially to help you at that point. And if you're the person hitting it, it's that back wall is helping your opponent.
Yeah.
So actually, if you concentrate on being more accurate into that corner and less just kind of blind welly, because I'll just whack it down there and they can figure it out. If you think about your length a lot more, you put so much more pressure on your opponent to read that ball.
It's very true. Your length's good.
Because as soon as they misread it, it's point over.
Yeah.
It's point over. Yeah, if the ball's not going to hit the back wall, then you can't use it as a safety net. So you are forced into making the right decision.
Obviously, yeah. It's just sometimes it's easier said than done to actually get it 2 bounces before the back wall.
Well, it doesn't need to be 2 bounces before the back wall, but the ball can hit the back wall. But if it's hitting the back wall with not much speed or anything, imagine you're hitting shots in there that are dying at what would be the equivalent of like 2 or better.
Yeah.
You're putting your opponent under so much pressure there, but it's the whacking, and you kind of think. So the big difference, right? If we were to make it even like slightly more fine tuned, if you and I were to get into backhand rally,
yeah,
and you're at the service end,
and why would I win?
Well, and then we switched it around. I reckon you would give me an opportunity to attack from the hazard end quicker than I would give you an opportunity.
Oh yeah, probably a very wise observation.
Because your length into that backhand corner might not be as good. So as soon as you give me, particularly somewhere like Leamington, which pops up, as soon as you give me that back wall as an option and I read it, all of the advantages you've got of the timbre and the using of the timbre in the area and stuff like that, they're gone immediately.
My length's actually really bad in that corner. Like I never ever try and hit a length. Like I just try and whack away into that corner. To be honest.
Yeah.
I never bother because I'm just like life's too short.
And that's fine if you're hitting the grill or you're hitting nicks.
Yeah.
Or you're hitting flat timbre really hard. But anything else, the people you're playing against are going to read it and deal with it. Not only deal with it, probably put you under a bit of pressure.
Backhand dead-ons. But
exactly.
Yeah.
Another thing that I get asked all the time is like, so I'll ask you. Another thing I get asked about all the time in lessons with the timbre is like positioning.
Yeah, good question.
Because that plays a big part in it. Rather than me just rambling on and giving my 2 cents worth, what do you think?
It's okay, Ben. No, what do I think? I think you've got to be like as close to the middle as you can with the timbre. I find that I misread the timbre when I get too close to it. If you see what I mean? Like let's say.
As in you try and creep across to the left a bit.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden the ball's hit the timbre and you've misread it.
Well, that's the thing. The more you creep to the left, the more you're absolutely desperate for the ball to miss.
Yeah.
The ball to miss. As soon as you creep to the left and the ball hits the timbre full in the face.
Yeah.
You're now so close to it, you've got no chance of recovery.
Like, I know I'm playing well when I'm getting to the middle because that means I'll be reading the timbre like I know I'm playing well. But, like, sometimes at the start of a match, I'll be a bit too far to the left and I'll be misreading the timbre. I'm like, what the hell? But then, like, 3 games later, I'll be in the middle and I won't misread one.
Yeah.
And it's all about positioning. Like, it's never like, oh, mate, you're reading the timbre so badly. It's just where you are on the court. Like, if you're not getting back to the middle, if you're not, like, stood balanced, you will misread the timbre.
Well, if you're starting to try and let's call it cheat, right? So let's say you're not stood in the middle. Yeah. The more you try and cheat, the more you're taking the other. So you've got 2 options with a timbre. The ball's either going to hit it or it's not.
Yeah, or the main wall.
So, what do you mean?
Well, it could.
In terms of the timbre, the ball is either going to hit it or it's not going to hit it. Those are your 2 options.
Right,
yes,
okay.
it can hit it and then it can hit it straight or main wall or whatever. But
okay.
It can either hit the timbre or it can't.
Yeah.
When the ball's going over there, like you said, if the more you kind of hedge over there, the moment that ball hits the timbre, it's beating you. And the amount of times I see people, I've said it to Chris all the time. I'll hit like a half decent length over towards the timbre, but it will hit the timbre full in the face, shock, like my speciality. And he'll go charging over there. He's already started too close, and then he'll try and hit like a half volley off the timbre. And I'm like, what are you doing? And he's like,
left-handers are flat.
Well, he's kind of like, I'm over here. I'm like, yeah, but if you'd stayed in the middle, that ball was hitting the timbre at like knee height, or at waist high, would have come off at knee height, and you would have been able to put me under pressure. Like the shot I've actually hit to you there is rubbish, but you've made it beat you because you've stood, you've put yourself in a weird position.
Yeah.
So positioning is absolutely massive, and what I see again, like appealing to the kind of the club member, is generally speaking they will position themselves in the middle of the court at the back, like you would do for a general rally, okay? And as the ball's kind of in flight, what they're doing, because they're not entirely sure where the ball's going to go, is they're not using the information that they've been given and trying to make a prediction from that. They're kind of stood there, they wait to see what happens, and then they try and react.
Yeah.
So if you're stood at the back of the court, in the middle, if the ball hits the tambour, you can't get it from that position. Unless it hits unless it hits tambour and you're at Oxford.
Yeah, you real can.
It hits you. You can't get it. If the ball misses the tambour, unless it hits kind of main wall in front of it, side of floor, back wall, and comes to you, you can't get that one either. So I imagine this: the ball's either going to end up hitting the tambour and coming across the court. So imagine putting a cone there.
Yeah.
Or it's going to miss the tambour and it's going to end up somewhere under the grill in the corner. Put a cone there. If you're stood in the middle of the court at the back, you're not covering either cone.
No, you're not.
You're just not covering anything. So what I see people do a lot at club level is they wait to see what happens, then try and react, and they can't get it, right?
Yeah.
And nor could I. What you want to try and do is hedge your bets. Like, don't wait to see what happens. Make a prediction. If you think that ball's going to hit the timber, don't think, oh, it might not, because it still might not. Put yourself up on that cone where it's going to hit the timber. If it misses, you've lost the point.
Get beaten by the good one. But yeah, the good one, yeah.
Well, if it misses, you've lost the point. If you're stood in the middle of the court at the back, you've lost the point anyway. So there's no different. The big difference now is if it does hit the timber, you can get it.
Yeah.
Because you've literally put all of your eggs into one basket. Rather than standing at the back and covering neither option, which people think is the safe thing to do, it's like, I won't cover either, I'll react to both. Can't do it. Like at club level, it's not quick enough. So put all of your eggs into one basket and cover that option with like 100% conviction. The other option's going to beat you, but it doesn't matter because at least you've got one of those options absolutely nailed on.
Yeah.
Right? It's like the same thing with doubles. When you see the grill person shout yours, and then they just stand there and watch the ball dribble.
You're the worst. You're the worst for that in doubles. You don't say yours. I need someone saying yours off the timbre. Like but like I was so nervous. I was basically just reading the timbre every time because you'd never say anything.
So here's my theory on that, right?
Just say yours, because then Drew Lyons told me, right. He said if you're in the grill corner and you see the timbre, you say yours, and it will make you more ready if it doesn't hit. And he's right. That works for me.
Okay, so that works for you and it works for him. My theory on that is I know what my job is, and my job is to cover the ball that misses the timbre. So when this ball's coming in flight, even if I can see it's going to hit the timbre, I'm going to literally get myself into a position and play a shot to exactly where the ball's going to be if it misses the timbre, right?
Yeah.
So I expect my partners to do the same. I expect them to assume everything's hitting the timbre and prepare for that. So why do I need to tell you?
I don't know.
So I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying that works for you. Like, and I remember playing with Kieran in the French when we got to the final a few years ago. We were playing our first match, and he said to me, because he shouted timbre a couple of times, like in the first game or first couple of games, and he turned around to me. You know, that's the beauty about like a new partnership. And he was like my default setting is to call it. Do you want me to call it? Do you want me to not say anything? What do you want me to do? And I just said, mate, I don't care. Like, honestly, if that ball's coming over there, I'm picking it to hit every time because I want to make sure I'm fully doing my job every single time.
Yeah.
So whether you shout or not, I'm going to assume it's hitting. And what you're doing there is, as the club member that's become a very good amateur, is you're basically relying on someone else to shout yours so that you then think, right, I need to do something. Whereas my theory for my doubles partner would be, I want you to assume that every single ball is coming to you.
Yeah.
So I don't need to tell you if it's hitting the timbre or not, because your brain should be saying, right, that could be mine, that could be mine, that could be mine. That would be my theory on it. But next time we play doubles, mate, I'll gladly shout yours the whole time. So
oh no, we probably won't play doubles again. But yeah, I remember when we did 2v1 in Australia, I was calling timbres for Snowy, and he was like, "Yeah, I can read it myself, thanks." And I was like, "I'm sorry, I'm sorry."
Well, but it's the same kind of theory. You know what I mean? It's like,
I just enjoyed doing it. And he was like, "Yeah."
I understand his point. He's like, "You don't need to tell me it's hitting the timbre." I'm assuming, or I'm playing the ball as if it is every time anyway.
I don't
So
need.
I get that theory.
I'll read. I'll read it myself. Thanks. Yeah. All right, mate. Okay. But yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's the toughest corner on the court. You've got two. The possibilities are kind of endless because you've got main or timbre and straight timbre, and if it misses, what's the length like and stuff like that. It's tough, and I would just encourage people. Here we go. Free coaching point. One from each end. If you're at the hazard end and you're unsure about timbre stuff, throw all of your eggs into one basket. Just kind of go, right, this ball's hitting the timbre, I'm going to go and cover that ball. You'll be amazed at how many balls you get right.
Yeah, a lot of balls hit it.
You'll get a load wrong, but you've lost the point if you get it wrong when you're at the back of the court anyway. So you're not losing anything. What you're gaining is the balls that you can get back because you're in the right place that you would never be in the right place for before.
Yeah, not wrong.
And from the service end, rather than, if you just think about it from a slightly different perspective, because it's there, we don't need to whack it in there to make it more difficult. The fact that it's there is very, very difficult already. So if you concentrate on your length a bit more or your line a bit more, you might find that you'll end up winning a lot more points with shots that don't feel like they're as good, but you're putting so much pressure on your opponent to read the ball correctly that's what's beating them.
Yeah, I like the timbre personally.
Yeah, it's one of those things that as you get better, it becomes easier and easier, isn't it? Like I don't mind it anymore.
You play it well.
I've seen it a few times.
Off your own racket.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I know where it's going the whole time because I hit it with such regularity.
Yeah.
Well, all right then. Here's a.
We are gonna have to wrap the timbre up shortly.
Yeah. So timbres that so good timbres and bad timbres for you. Like where's a good timbre in the world? As in
Hampton Court.
A nice easy one to figure out.
Hampton Court.
All right, end of conversation.
It's the best timbre in the world.
Is it really? Why is that?
Well, Chappers told me it was, and I thought, I wonder if it is. And basically, I went on court. Obviously at Hampton. I thought, yeah, this timbre's great.
Well, I'd be interested to know, Chappers, if you're listening, why is it the best timbre in the world?
I'll tell you why, because he told me. He said because it comes off the same pace as how it's been hit, and he's right.
Yes, that is true.
And no other timbre does that really. Like it always slows down. Like at Manchester, it speeds up. To be fair, Leamington's a good timbre, but like
Leamington is a good timbre. Somewhere like Lords is a tough timbre.
Oh yeah, Simon Tower Williams on the podcast was messaging me saying, "Oh, just listen to the Lords podcast, blah blah." It's not a quick timbre; it's just the same pace as the Walls. I'm like, mate, it is a rapid timbre.
Fine, Talbot Williams. It's the same pace as the Walls, which are also lightning quick.
They're rapid.
So
anyway, yeah.
So there you go.
But yeah, no, Hampton Court's one of those rare courts where it's like the same pace. Like Queens slows down.
Queens slows down a lot now since they've done the Walls.
Yeah. It used to be quick, obviously.
Like that, you can hit the timbre quite high at Queens, and it will end up down at your opponent's feet when you go to play it. Like it is a tough. It's a tough one to gauge the pace of. I would agree.
I think one more decent timbre.
I mean, the thing is that there's so many of them out there.
Yeah, there's a lot that's like slowed down though. Like Cambridge, like slows down, goes forward.
Like the oratories. The oratories are, if you actually boil it down, is an easy timbre. It's because the angle's so severe.
You can't not misread it.
It takes you a while to like force yourself to stand that far up the court. But it's got to be the widest timbre in the world.
Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah.
So it's going to hit it with a great degree of regularity.
It does. Yeah. No. Exactly.
So I think somewhere like the oratory should be quite easy. Leamington's a pretty easy timbre. Hampton Court, good timbre. Do you want to know? Go on then. Let's go toughest timbres. Right. Let's take Oxford, Tuxedo, and Hobart out because the reason they are tough is because the angle is so different.
Yeah.
Your brain is so tuned in to expect the ball at a certain angle, and you don't get that from those three. You get a different one. So that's why they're so tough. Once you start to figure it out, it becomes as easy as a normal timbre. But it's the sheer difference from the, in inverted commas, normal is what makes that difficult. So take those three out. Tough timbres.
Lords
is tough.
I've
got a beauty.
I wonder if I'll get the same. I wonder if I'll be on the same wavelength. Oh, I don't know. Could be anywhere. I don't know. What are you gonna say?
It's a one that you wouldn't really think about. Preston.
Yeah, hard timbre. Yeah, it is hard. You just can't read
What?
it.
It's so small, the timbre.
Yeah. It's exactly. It always misses. You got to read the miss.
It's really, really small. And because the walls there are orange, it's very difficult, I find, to it's very difficult to pick like where the main wall meets the timbre and where the timbre like finishes and turns into the timbre wall. It's very difficult to actually see. I know that sounds like a really stupid thing to say. It's very difficult to identify it. So it's so hard to pick whether the ball's going to hit it or miss it, and because it's so thin,
I always find
you're going to miss it a lot.
I always
Also,
find.
if you hit it, it's the fattest timbre in the world, and it's
Yeah.
a stroke. And because it's so, the ball like hits it and takes off. It's a stroke underneath the winning arrow before you even know it. So, like, literally, if you misread the timbre at Preston, game over immediately.
I find at Preston you read more main walls than there actually are, so you just got to read the miss.
Yeah.
Which is cool. But yeah, no, some tough timbres out there for sure, which we discussed.
Have you ever played at Washington?
No.
See, that's quite funny because the timbre there is really easy, but you've got the glass wall with the main wall, which is all the way down until the timbre. So then the timbre becomes concrete again.
Wow.
So you've got this ball like that you kind of potentially lose in sight all the way down, and then you just see it like hit the timbre, and you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Oh my God, timbre.
I'm sure there's plenty of tough timbres out there, but yeah, just get stuck in and throw all of your eggs into one basket. Don't
Yeah, and if you've got like a spare room in your house, just make a timbre.
Yeah, just do some ghosting. You're good at that.
No, I'm not. I'd hate that. But yeah, no, good discussion of timbre. Me and Benno like it, so yeah. What do you think? What are your
Well, do you
favourite
know what?
timbres? Go on.
It's quite simple. You have to learn to love it.
Yeah, you do. Use it.
You
Use the
can't. You
timbre.
cannot be scared of that thing
No, you
because you're
can't.
just you're gonna get beaten up at the hazard end. You've got to learn to like embrace it and figure it out. It's a challenge. Enjoy the challenge.
Embrace the chaos.
Exactly. Don't run from it.
Nat. Right, well, that was a long discussion. We're at 42 minutes here, Benno.
Sorry.
Don't apologise.
Well, what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to, in the next one, we're going to have to talk about our favourites. If we finish the tour today, we're going to have to talk about Queens, but then we haven't got time to talk about Queens and then favourite. We'll have to do that next time. We'll have a good 10-minute discussion on our top threes.
Mate, you're just keeping the listeners wanting more.
We'll have to wait another week.
Whoa, right, well, we're on to the final court, which is the Queen's Club Limited, London.
What a place to finish.
Well, I think that was always our plan.
Well, we just said we were just going to finish in London, but we didn't have anything in particular in mind. Geographically, it took us down to Queens.
Yeah, no, not wrong. Yeah, Queens, the home of real tennis.
The home of real tennis.
Tournaments.
1886?
Yeah, that's what it says on the wall.
Home of the TNRA.
It is, yeah. 2 courts.
2 courts. Yeah, so as is the way, we always preview both. What's your favourite?
The East.
Yeah, it's got to be, isn't it?
Yeah.
I actually thought until they kind of did all of until they washed all the walls and stuff, I actually think the West played probably a bit better, but you just play on the East, or the only time I play on the West is in the Sparks charity doubles day, and
tough stuff.
If I do deadness coaching, they always chuck me out on the West court because they've always got someone better than me, and the better person is always on the East court. So I do all of my coaching on the West court.
Weird that Adam Phillips would be on the East.
Maybe gone quite happy over there. You feel like you're in the back into nowhere.
Yeah. Guys, hello.
You're so ingrained in coming out of the pro shop, turning right and then left to get to the East court. But when you go to the left, you're like, no one comes this way.
Oh no, yeah. Where am I?
Yeah, where is everyone?
Yeah, the West. Yeah, it's a dodgy one.
All right. Quick one on the West then before we talk, because everyone, it's all about the East, really, isn't it?
It is, yeah. But yeah, the West is like, I think it's quicker than the East.
Yeah, I I mean,
It's like it
I
just.
mean, the difficult thing for me is obviously you're probably in a better place to answer this because, like I said, the only time I've ever played on the West is when I've done coaching days or like Sparks charity deadness doubles stuff. So I don't think I've ever had like a proper practice or a game, or I don't think I've ever played the court with any degree of intensity. So I couldn't actually really tell you too much about what it's like. Which is
It's
bizarre
sort of
because I
like
spent so many hours on court there.
it sort of like slides around. Like a lot of flat stuff will just roll. Like it's weird when it cuts. I don't know. There's a lot of balls which just like roll out like a massive nick. I don't know if it really spins that much on there off the walls. I don't know. It seems.
It's all pretty gettable off the back wall there, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Like it doesn't rip down and beat you
No,
too
but like
much.
some weird stuff will rip down and beat you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
So you're saying it's potentially a bit inconsistent off the walls.
floor back wall, floor back wall, like straight cut would cut down a lot. I think there. I don't know. I'm making it up. I've not played there for a few years, but there's a few weird bounces where you're like, what?
Right. So again, I've just not played there. I've just not played.
Oh, and the tambour was the original square tambour.
What's actually quite interesting is I was on court there like 10 days ago.
Yeah, but just like
Maybe 2 weeks ago.
feeding balls.
Yeah, spent quite a lot of hours out there though.
Yeah, true.
But yeah, okay. Well, so there's no. This is going to sound really weird, like it's almost mean, but like it's just a court, isn't it? There's nothing.
Yeah.
There's nothing weirdly. There's nothing really weird about it. There's nothing that stands out. It's just.
Like if that was your court, like if there was only one court at Queens and that was the court, I don't think it'd be the end of the world.
No, not at all. No, there's nothing wrong with the court.
No.
Nothing wrong with the court at all. It just feels bizarre to be out there because you're so used to being out in the east.
Very true.
But yeah, I mean everything about it, like it ticks all the boxes we were talking about. You know, in the last few podcasts, you've got the ceiling's very high. Obviously, this is for both. The ceiling's very high. The outer play line's quite high. Timber's fair. Doesn't do anything bizarre. Galleries are all like normal kind of height. You can get the ball in the dead on. You can hit main walls. Like it's just an absolutely perfectly decent real tennis court. No outstanding features in any way, which again is probably more of a compliment than a negative. I think so. I think when you go to some courts and you're like, there's a standout feature, everyone's kind of, that's why it's good. I'm like, well, it depends. If you're good at dealing with that outstanding feature, then yeah, it's good. But if you're not, then it's horrible.
Right, Ben. Let's talk about the East because we didn't talk loads about Preston other court.
Yeah, well, I mean, it has to be the main court in the UK, doesn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is.
It hosts the British Open, so that's major itself. It generally speaking does the British Juniors. It does the British Amateur.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
All major UK stuff goes through the East Court.
Yeah. And it's decent to be fair.
Do you know what Queens is, in my opinion, it's one of those courts that if you talk to people, it's a Marmite court.
Yeah.
You mentioned someone, so you're like, oh, Queens. They'll either go, oh, I love that. Like Darren loves Queens.
Yeah, he does actually.
Loves it. He's like, oh, I love playing there. And you kind of turn around to some other people. Queens are like, oh, no, don't like it.
I don't think you can hate it. You can't really hate it because everyone plays there so much.
Yeah, exactly. I think I would say that people used to either love it or hate it, and then when they kind of washed the walls and kind of like changed it a bit, which is, I don't know, what do we think, 5-6 years ago?
2015.
So 5. I think it is now a much better court, and I think the people that didn't like it before are just ambivalent now. Like they don't dislike it. Like you say, you can't dislike it. It's British Open stuff. You've got to play. You've got to like it.
No, yeah, 100%. Right, what's it like then?
So how does it play then? So I always find the reason I always used to struggle with it, particularly with the old walls and stuff, was that I just found the bounce off the back wall very, very inconsistent. So some balls would just cut down, some wouldn't. and I just found it really, really weird. And since they've redone it, I think it's much easier to figure out. I think it's much more consistent.
Yeah.
I'd say it's a ralliers court, right?
Yeah, you can get a lot back.
Yeah, you can. You know, if you've got two rallies out there, they're gonna have a great. They're gonna have a great match.
Until one of them starts hitting dead-ons, and then you're in big trouble.
Well, that's. I mean, something I was just about to say. It is either like serving on that court is either really easy or really difficult. If you're prepared to be really boring, then it's easy. I mean, you can serve aces with bobbles there.
Yeah.
The high serve is obviously insanely good there, but pretty much anything else is pants.
Yeah.
Well, it is really, isn't it? Like, you know, we'll go back to the World Championship in 2018. Rob, like, obviously, like one of the best, if not the best, like volley returner of all time, and just backed away. It was just like, I'm not even going to bother, because it does have that little kind of rib, it does have a little lip bar.
And also, you know it's going to get to the back wall anyway.
Yeah, so it's just like, why am I going to put myself in a situation and try and like figure out last minute volleys? I'll just back away.
Yeah.
The ball hits the back wall, pops up, have a crack.
Yeah, hit a dead on.
And I remember, that was one of the big things that stood out for me in that World Championship. It was like, I didn't like feel sorry for Cam, but I was just like, there's just nothing he can serve here that just isn't going to get to the back wall. And that's not necessarily his fault. Like, that's just the court. Like, okay, yeah, he could have changed it up and he could have served some bob walls and he could have served a bit high and stuff like that. But ultimately, anything he was trying to do, the ball would just skid through and get to the back wall.
Yeah.
But you can also, if you choose to play to its strengths, you can serve very well there. If you don't, then you can serve very badly there.
Yeah. It's One
of those two things. Walls. The walls used to. I think the walls are quicker than the floor.
Yeah, they are. The floor's quite slow.
Yeah, the floor's quite slow. So you've got to try and figure out a couple of potentially like different paces.
It's quite easy to hit targets.
It's one of those. I've put Lords in the same boat.
Oh mate, I genuinely I've played 2 matches at Queen's in the last year, and I hit so many grills, like so many, and I just don't know how, because everywhere else I don't really hit that many, and it's just because the ball just goes in.
Yeah, it's one of those courts like Lords. If you just get the ball at the right height, the wall, when it hits the wall, it doesn't like slow down and therefore drop. So somewhere like Leamington, for example, the ball like really hits that side wall, checks and comes down. So I find myself when I go to Queen's, like when I'm trying to hit grills, because I'm used to trying to have to kind of hit the ball into the grill at Leamington, because I've got to try and play through the fact that the ball's going to like check down off the main wall. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's going to hit the wall and like check and slow down quite a lot and drop underneath the grill. So I have to kind of play through that. So at Queen's, I found myself in practice. I put a lot on the penthouse because it doesn't do that. It will just slide off that wall and keep its height.
Yeah.
But actually, like you say, if you just kind of pop it up there, it just finds its way in all the time.
Yeah.
Nice quartet grills on for sure.
Yeah, it's nice. I don't know. Yeah, it's one of the. Everyone's just played there so much. Like, obviously, it's got the cool glass gallery at the top. Lots of great places.
That's an addition.
You've got the normal gallery up top, so there's loads of places to watch from. I'd say they can actually the most spectators can watch at Queen's in the UK. Oh, that's not true. Oratory.
That can't be true. The oratory is going to be very big.
They've got like classrooms. It's mental.
Hampton Court as well.
I'm going to say more can watch Oratory.
But you can get 2 rows of people at least on the top galleries at Hampton Court.
That's true.
If you wanted to, and they were pushing the boat out for a championship, you could get 3 rows of people at the service end. At a play line?
Is there? Can you get above the? Can you get up there at the service end or just the Hasn end?
Yeah, service end.
Oh right, wow, didn't know.
Yeah, and that's bigger. So you could, like I said, you could get 3 rows there if you wanted to.
And you get 2 in the flat.
Exactly. Don't forget that you could sell 2 spaces for the window.
Yeah.
That's actually quite interesting. Like the flat at the Hazard at Hampton Court must be the only place in the world where you can watch from that position.
Yeah.
Halfway up the back wall, but at the Hazard, not service end.
Mate, honestly, it's crazy.
Interesting.
It's crazy watching from there.
Anyway, Queen's Club. You must have had some good. I mean, I think everybody's probably got a good Queen's Club story, haven't they? On
mate,
court?
my
There's
best,
been so many matches there.
my best win at Queen's, one of my best wins ever, was I've had two with my best mate in the schools doubles. We won the schools doubles 2 years in a row, and we weren't expected to win. We won it 2 years in a row, and I was just like, yeah, Oldstream Grammar School 2 years in a row, the national schools champion, and I was like, that stands out. I was pretty happy with that. Yeah, no, that is probably my. I've obviously played there loads as an older person and won a few matches.
I reckon if there was ever a court in the world, because of its neutrality, I think I just made a word up there.
You haven't. That's a word. That's a word.
You can you've got to be on it. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you're 2 sets up against somebody at Queen's, it doesn't mean anything. I mean, trust me. Because it's so neutral, your opponent can always be in it. Do you know what I mean? It's not like somewhere that's I don't know, somewhere that's really severe, and you kind of think, right, if I just keep chopping away into the corners, I'll just win because the court will help me. Yeah. The court doesn't help you at Queen's. You've really got to get out there and try and find a way to win that match. So you've got to be. It's a good test mentally, for concentration, because you've got to be going the whole time. And matches can they can flick over. The momentum can switch between the two players with such a tiny margin.
Yeah. I find at Queen's I start off really badly and then just get into the game and I start playing sick. Generally.
Look at the British Open and stuff like that. How many matches are 5 sets, and British amateurs and stuff 5 sets, and even some of the matches that are only 4 sets and stuff, and even some of the British Open matches, the quarterfinals and stuff that are straight sets, they can go on forever.
Yeah.
Because it's every point and stuff. It's tough. You're grinding. You've really got to grind out there.
You do.
And you cannot. That's probably the one court in the world where it's very, very difficult to get out on court and just mop somebody up in under an hour.
Unless they play so badly.
Yeah, it's so tough. You've got to just keep going. They can just get loads of balls over, and the matches are just quite long, even if the scoreline's quite one-sided.
Yeah.
So it's a proper grind out there. You've got to be prepared to put in some time.
Not wrong. Right. Well, before we make this podcast the longest one ever, where would you put it?
Middle.
Fair middle, yeah.
Lower middle.
I'd put it top third because I think anyone could play well at Queen's.
Yeah, there you go. Well, the test is always.
You just wouldn't be that disappointed.
Well, the test is always, if you have to play a World Championship there, would you be all right with it? And the answer for me is yes, because you've played there so many times.
I think it's probably got to go in the middle, really, actually. There are other courts I prefer to Queen's.
But it wouldn't be my favourite. Yeah, exactly. So put it this way, the reason I say middle third is if someone said, right, now rank all of your courts that you like to play on from top to bottom.
Queen's would be like 7th or 8th or 9th.
I think I could find 7 that I find nicer to play.
It's a good point. It doesn't disappoint me playing at Queen's, but at the same time, it's oh well. I mean, there are other better courts. Do you know what I mean?
Well, just things that just features that you might like a bit more, or something like that. So that's the thing. It wouldn't be down. And do you know what? There would be courts that you like playing on, courts that you don't like playing on, and then courts that you don't really stress about playing on at all. And they're the ones that are going to end up in the middle. Not because they're not great, just because they're not ones that have that trigger a particular.
There actually aren't that many players. There aren't that many players who've come from Queen's either.
God, this could take a while, couldn't it?
I can't think of any really.
Can you not? There must be.
Who've come from Queen's? I mean,
to be fair, it's different because they just all end up at Queen's, don't they?
Yeah, everyone ends up there.
Yeah, I don't know. We're probably missing some gems there, but I can't think of any off the top of my head.
Me neither.
Howard Angus.
Yeah, how would I? Well, I mean, he actually played at Cambridge University first.
Thank you. Not Howard Angus.
Well, yeah. If you came from Queens and you're a great player, let us know. Whoever you are, could be anyone.
I'd love to. I'd love to hear. I can't wait for a certain crowd of people to start messaging in there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, no, that was Queens Club, and guys, we've finished the tour. Um, we've got a surprise. Should I reveal the surprise about what our next feature is going to be?
No.
Okay, cool.
So just next week we'll talk. We'll then go through our favourites.
Yeah,
In
and then
fact,
just put some.
homework.
Yeah,
Homework. Next week
yeah.
we are going to deliver our top fives each.
Mate, why don't you do a top 27? Let's actually rank them 1 to 27. You've got
No,
nothing to do, mate. You've got nothing to do today.
Well, not true, but that's not fair because A,
Oh shit! Yeah, you've got to put
it's
one at the worst.
it's very difficult to kind of determine like what's the difference between 12 and 14. You know what I mean? Like they're middle of the road because
Yeah.
I find them absolutely fine, and I'm not going to start. I'm not going to start putting like course that I don't like to play on in the mix. That's just
Yeah, top fives.
I can't
Top
be bothered
fives.
to just instigate that kind of like level of chat with people. It's
I'm
all
so
personal preference.
okay.
Top five course.
All right, top five. Yeah, we'll do top five next week.
Yeah, top five course, and I want some thought in it.
All right, mate. Yeah, yeah. There'll be some thought.
Top five UK course. All right.
Oh, Ben, I've not done my homework. Sorry. But yeah, and then just leave some cryptic Instagram hints about our next feature.
Yeah, we'll have to just double confirm what that is, but I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, we'll double confirm. You going to do a workout later today?
I am. Yeah, 11:30.
Oh, that'd be good.
11:30 today. So that'll be fun. And then
I might go to the park and do some stuff later.
there you go. Well, yeah, I'll be outdoors, obviously.
Yeah. Obviously.
Can't do anything. Can't do anything in here. The dog just goes nuts.
Oh God! Wow.
Well, I'm still in the pokey flat, aren't I? So
Yeah, not wrong.
can't do much. So yeah, I'll be out and about for some kind of running thing at 11:30, and then nice big stretch.
Have a beer.
That'll be me done for the day. No, I'm not drinking this week.
Oh really?
Yeah, no beers this week.
I'll believe that when I see it.
All right. No, Monday to Friday, nothing this week. Because otherwise, I've just got an excuse to drink every night, and I just don't want to do that. So.
Well, you do, but you don't.
No, I really don't. No beers for me this week.
No. Okay, fine. Okay.
Monday to Friday, nothing.
Believe you. I believe you. Right. Well, I've actually got to go to work. I need to get in the car.
Enjoyed that.
Thanks so much, guys.